And there doesn't have to be any grounds, there doesn't have to be any reasons. Basically, you tell your husband, I want a divorce. Assalamu alaikum, my name is Naveed Husain. I am a divorce attorney in Chicago. I was actually born and raised in Chicago. And so today I'm very excited to join Muzz to talk about divorce in the Muslim community, but more so to help us prepare for marriage so that hopefully we can avoid divorce. And if we do end up divorcing, to divorce better. When we think of divorce in Islam, we just think of some guy yelling at their wife 3 times, I divorce you, I divorce you, I divorce you. But that's not part of Islam, that's an innovation. Islam is very beautiful because it has a system built in how we're supposed to divorce. The goal of Islam is to try to keep you married, right? And so the first thing is that you're supposed to separate yourself from one another. Once you separate from one another and things still aren't coming together, you're supposed to appoint somebody to represent you, and the other side should appoint somebody to represent them. They're supposed to talk, they're supposed to try to see if there's any resolution. If not, then the first divorce is pronounced. When the first divorce is pronounced, it's supposed to be done in a manner where you're not excited, you're not angry, you've thought about things, and then the iddah period starts. And the beautiful part of this iddah period is that it's built to try to reconcile. You're supposed to live together. You're supposed to be in the same house, right? To kind of show you that, look, this is what you're missing out on. And so much so that if you end up, physically touching your spouse, you're actually back to normal, okay? And this is supposed to occur 2-3 times before you're actually permanently divorced. And so you can see that this built-in reconciliation period is there to try to help you. Whereas this innovation of pronouncing the divorce 3 times is not part of our deen, and we should not be doing that at all. So there's 2 different ways that a wife can seek divorce, right? One is the khula. The khula is a divorce initiated by the wife, and there doesn't have to be any grounds, there doesn't have to be any reasons. Basically, you tell your husband, I want a divorce. If the husband agrees, you're divorced. There's no grounds, no nothing. There might be a relinquishment of the mahr or some other conditions for the khula to happen. The second way is the fasq, which is the court-initiated divorce, okay? And so in that circumstance where the man is still being difficult, they're not agreeing to the divorce for whatever reason, you still have recourse. You can go to a mufti, you can go to a Islamic panel and seek divorce for grounds, okay? And the grounds are not the same grounds as you find here in America or in the UK. It's not only mental abuse, it's not only physical abuse. Yes, that's going to be grounds under Islamic law, but there could be other grounds as well. For example, abandonment. There could be lack of physical intimacy or emotional intimacy. So there's other grounds, and it's up to the judge then to grant that divorce. Many times a judge is not going to force a wife to stay with their husband, especially if their husband is a bad dude. So Islam in every way is a balanced religion, okay? You see from the past where you had Catholicism or other religions where they wouldn't allow divorce at all. They didn't understand the reality of human beings, that human beings might grow apart. There might be fights, there might be changes, there might be abuse. But Islam has a very balanced view, and it understands that yes, divorce might not be the best thing, but it may be necessary in certain circumstances. And so Islam allows for divorce. Islam has a process for divorce. Islam has a whole methodology on how families are supposed to separate, and even reminds us, and Allah reminds us in the Quran of how to divorce. So much so that in the Quran, when you talk about nations being destroyed, it's usually because you don't believe in God or you associate partners with God. But the same ayat, the same warning of destroying a nation comes to those people who don't divorce properly, who divorce in spite, who divorce out of anger and to destroy the other side. So Islam is balanced and allows for divorce in most circumstances. Under Islamic law, when it comes to custody, the standard is what is in the best interest of the children. Just like any Western country, Eastern country, any modern state, it's going to be what's in the best interest of the child. But we also have presumptions, right? So when the children are small, they're going to be with the mother. The mother's going to be the one who's able to raise them, to suckle them, to teach them whatever they need to be taught. And then there may be a presumption that once they reach puberty or right before puberty, then there might be a presumption that they go with father. In this country, in the West, it's going to be more so based off what's in the best interest of the child, looking at the totality of the circumstances. What is the mother's living situation? What is the father's living situation? What is the income of the parties? Who's going to be a better parent to make sure that this child ends up being a believer and staying a believer? The question is, what general advice do I have for individuals who are thinking about divorce? One issue that I see a lot is that once you come to a divorce attorney's office, okay, my job is not to save your marriage, right? My job is to give you advice on how to divorce, on how to protect your assets, on how to protect your children. So I would say that if you're thinking about divorce, yes, learn about it, learn the legal implications of it, but understand that if you're going to the divorce attorney, your mind is going to be switched. So instead, go to a neutral party, go through a therapist, go through a counselor, go to your imam, go to somebody else before you go to the divorce attorney. It's also very important to understand what the expectations of divorce are. Many people believe that, for example, the wife might believe that I'm going to delete the husband and I'm going to continue on with my life. My lifestyle is going to continue. That's not going to happen. The grass is not necessarily greener on the other side. You might think that people are going to use Islam at the time of divorce. But if you didn't talk about Islam, if you didn't get a prenup at the beginning of your marriage, why do you think that Islam is going to apply at the end of your marriage? So you have to think about Islam at the beginning of your marriage for it to apply at the end of your marriage. So I know I'm kind of talking about divorce at the end, but really this has to start way before you get married. It has to start with premarital education. It has to start with aligning values, right? For example, Muzz, the beauty of Muzz and these applications is that they're helping you find values, because the values is what's going to keep a marriage progressing. Looks are going to fade, the money might go away, but it's the values. If you have the same goals, I want to grow, I want to be a good Muslim, I want to be a good father, a good mother, these values are going to endure. And so you have to make sure that at the beginning that you identify those values and you proceed on those values.